Welcome to a conversation with Enzo Cilenti, actor. I'm your host, Ian Beasley, and I'm going to let Enzo explain everything.
What, my career?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's sort of fairly standard really for kind of, in as much as I didn't think I suppose I always knew that's what I really wanted to do, and unsurprisingly, school here were very keen that their students go and study. I mean, this is polytechnic and university days, and huge differentiation between the two. And so I was kind of pushed, along with a lot of my friends as well, and people, at that time, to study something a bit more classical, a bit that would reflect well on the kind of, when they were trying to sell school places at BGS. So that's why I did French and Spanish. I did enjoy it hugely, but because of the year out that's involved in studying languages, I was fortunate enough to headed down to Nice. Thought that was a good place to go in France. And then I had about 5 months in Mexico City as a bodyguard, by virtue of being a foot taller than most people there, I think, and the fact that I could help my boss's kids with their English homework. So I had that a year to kind of really figure out what I wanted to do, and yeah, I got back and did my final year and really sort of focused on drama then. I was looking at what my friends were doing, and it was sort of terrifying me. They're putting cufflinks in on a Monday morning, and they were shaving, and I thought, I've got to do something, otherwise that'll be me. There's no shame in that, but I maybe I sensed that was the opportunity, the time. And then it was a fairly sort of traditional way of doing it. I wasn't plucked out of in the streets. It was you'd be amazing, man. Next film, I went to drama school. I then worked manning the phones at Grand Prix Legends, and I worked in a shop folding T-shirts. And then sort of some agents called because they'd seen me at my showcase end of year sort of thing at drama school, and yeah, I just slowly started working, and nothing big, nothing major, but I think I was lucky that the quality of jobs that I got, the productions they were kind of quite cool, which I think that had a big. So even though I wasn't working a massive amount at that time, stuff that I was getting to do, even though I was kind of doing small supporting roles, sort of created a nice calling card, a nice CV, and then went to America. Thought I was going to crack it. Did not work at all. Had children. Decided better hot-foot it back to England before any semblance of a career had disappeared. And there's that saying that babies bring good luck. And I don't know what it was. I think it was the fact that I was kind of new in town again for a little bit, so all those casting directors, they'd forgotten what an idiot I was. I went, yeah, all right, we'll see him. And then I just managed to land a few gigs right off the bat. There was something in Sheffield, I remember it was on the first job back, and then I got Guardians of the Galaxy, it's a big Marvel film, and then Game of Thrones, which was like a big game changer. And I've just been fortunate enough to sort of keep that going and sort of learn my trade along the way, and that's been satisfying. That's been joyful.
So you didn't actually come from a theatrical family?
No, cafe owners.
Cafe owners.
Yeah,
well, bit of theatre.
There's a bit of theatre. My mum's parents had a transport cafe on Leeds Road called Tony's Cafe, and then my dad's parents had the Italia Cafe on Greater Horton Road. So, right in student land, and the students, Bradford University students were revered. Spent a lot of money in our family's cafe, so yeah, that's my background.
Because it's one of them professions that's often perceived as being somewhat elitist. It's somewhat to do with what family you're born into. There's all that sort of going on.
Yeah.
And then you have no background in that.
No.
Though the thing that you've alluded to was the importance of the drama education you received at school.
Yeah, I mean, there was what we were blessed with at BGS, and anything, the people are what make anything, they make the institution. And there are a number of teachers there who took the pastoral element really seriously, and made us, and certainly in my case, made me think it was something I could do. And they weren't outside of, being crap at maths and all that stuff, if you were good at something, that, that you were told that, you were encouraged. And that's what just gave me enough belief to kind of just the next step. In that case, it was auditioning for drama school. And then it's, when you get to the auditions and just having that sort of, that foundation is just kind of hugely important. And now it's part of the curriculum at BGS to do drama. We didn't do it then, but the sort of, English A-level was kind of, they put in as much as they could. I was really lucky.
Because what's your opinion now? Because I know that in state schools,
Yeah.
drama and theatre is no longer in the curriculum.
Yeah.
And some schools, they receive an hour a week.
Yeah.
And surely that does
Well,
then
all
impact
kids-
on actors
yeah.
coming from working class backgrounds
Hugely,
or lower income.
yeah, hugely. I mean, in terms of not coming from an acting background myself, it meant that I didn't, didn't seem feasible to go to drama workshops or Amdram stuff in Bradford, which there was at the time. There would have been junior workshops, I'm sure of it. But not having, not just drama, but anything, for kids. I mean, my kids are in primary school, and knowing that, there's all these outlets, and, because my kids are so, as all kids are, they just then, their creative needs are not being met. And that's absolutely, it's tragic, whether it's sport or whether it's drama, or music or anything like that. It's terrifying. And that's obviously it's the role of the parents to kind of try and fulfill that as well. But when you're sending your kids to school and you think that's a bit of a void for them, and we've got to do that at home. And we're really fortunate we've got the means to sort of do that, to give them music lessons. But the idea that people don't, and kids don't have that outlet is it's horrifying.
Because it is an incredibly tough profession to actually make a
Well, man, the
successful
phones
career.
at Grand Prix Legends, that was pretty bad. When you've got some mother screaming down the phone at you because her daughter's Jacques Villeneuve cap hasn't turned up. That was pretty hard. The hard bit, I don't really see it as hard because the only hard bit is getting the work. Once you've got the work, it's generally a lot of fun. As I was saying before, it is what I like about it is it is a team sport, and we do get to play, and I'm prepared to, now that I'm kind of confident enough to know that I've got a bit of a career and I've got a good momentum behind me, I'm prepared to put in those hours of preparation that usually come to nothing, but one time out of 10, one time out of 15, they do mean that I go get to, in the next case, go to France for 4 months and play at being some kind of medieval sorcerer, which is great. But it is tough. But that question of class in my business in the acting industry is it's a bit of a thorny one, because I think of like Stephen Graham, I think of Gary Oldman, and other not posh actors.
There's always examples that social mobility
Yeah.
and progression into the arts, I think now is more difficult than it's ever been for lots of reasons. I was lucky I was brought up in the 70s.
Yeah.
Where I went to Bradford Art College, and they gave you,
Yeah.
it was interesting, the mantra that they gave you at Bradford Grammar School, which was, if you were good at it, they would give you the confidence.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's a lot to do with it.
I think so. I mean, it's a mental game, isn't it? It's all mental. Right? It's all in the head. Yeah. And it is. I think where I sort of look at it sort of specifically when I audition is that, say 20 of us go up for the role, 15 were pretty good. A couple of people might have a bad day, and 2 will be exceptional. But just put yourself in the, just prepare myself. I just have that feeling about it, and therefore I'm quite confident, and that's sort of enough. And as I said, when I was saying about my daughter's being born and that changing things, I think it's that idea of just going, I don't really care anymore. There's that. That's what's important to me. There's something that I just enjoy it more. But that comes from privilege. I must be very quick to point that out. I mean, when I went to drama school, my parents paid for the fees. So I didn't have to think. I didn't have to go and spend 2 years grafting for that money to pay for the fees and to afford to live for a year. And also after I graduated, I had a safety net. I didn't have to kind of go, well, if you've not got an agent within 6 months, that's it. Go and get another job. You know, it was a good 9-10 months, if not longer. And in some cases, people I know, you know, it takes a couple of years, 3 years. And, you know, how people do it is, you do. It help. It doesn't half help. And I'm the recipient of that help. I'm not, as much as I kind of am speaking a bit more broader than I do when I'm in London or when I'm on a job. You know, I'm not, I'm not Lidget Green, even though I was, you know, I'm technically Lidget Green, Great Horton, but that's not really my, you know, my working class credentials aren't actually that strong particularly.
Well, I mean,
It's essentially a disclaimer. You're screwed either way.
Well, it's all comparative to some extent, I think, but then it's also about the perception that, you know, if we took it in a broader remit, you know, Bradford it's a poor town. It's suffered a lot from social inequality. So I think, you know, anybody that sort of rises through that has got some sort of, you know.
I find it a bit tricky. I do. I struggle a little bit with that thing of not bad for a lad from insert working class northern town here or less affluent part of London. You know, but I think it's because it's symptomatic of the truth, which is, you do sort of need a bit of luck. You know, it is more difficult to do that. And so, so it is a good thing. I suppose, I hope I'm not appearing disingenuous about it, but I feel kind of really badly placed to talk about it.
Well, no, I don't think you are, because I think the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, that people can see you. And they can, you know, from Lidget Green, your mum and dad own a cafe up Lees Road. You come and watch Bradford City. There's a lot of young people in Bradford who will relate to that. And
well,
say,
if it's relatable, it's good.
He's to some extent one of us. Though we can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I mean, I always thought of being from Bradford as a bit of a help, actually. I always liked it. I suppose I did kind of feel a bit underdog about it, and I did have a chip on my shoulder about it. But, you know, I think that made me quite determined. And the stuff I didn't agree with at drama school, which was quite stuffy, was kind of very traditional period movement and, you know, Shakespeare on a Thursday, flowing with essence of porpoise on a Friday morning for 3 hours. And and coming from here, I did kind of go, you know what, I think you're wrong. It's rubbish. I think it's rubbish, and I'll show you otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I would perceive that, you know, having born and bred in Bradford and come to Bradford City, you do actually see the other side of life.
Yeah.
You're not swanning around in Belgravia, are you? Well, you might be doing now.
It's been known. Got my silk scarf.
Yeah.
Get my equity card out. No. I mean, this is where I do feel most at home. You know, Bradford is my home. I'm from here. Those are my roots, and I'm very proud of them. And if it's anything, you know, I suppose it just goes back to the thing of encouragement and confidence, and anything positive is to be celebrated. And if my trajectory is kind of is relatable to people from Bradford or wherever, and you know, gives them, you know, the idea that you can do it, then so much the better. I mean, I don't want to be a banner waver for that, because I'm just a bit shy in that sense, and there are people more worthy of that than me. But to be a small part of it, is something to be happy about.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's not that many actors that have come from Bradford, really.
Timothy West.
Well, yeah, but he was only born here because his parents were on tour.
It was an accident.
Yeah, it was an accident. So I mean, there's not a massive swathe of actors, is there?
So
same as a massive.
How do we change that, though? How do we change that?
Well, I think people have got to look at that it can be done.
I mean, my advice, I mean, is do it as soon as you get kind of, no matter how young you are, that impulse to do it is just sort of do it. Technology now means you can make films, and kind of learning the science of it, learning editing, learning a bit of basic camera work. It means it's easier than ever to do, but yeah, just write stuff and perform it.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose that's what I'd be doing now.
Little things like TikTok and things have given people that little bit of, well, I tell you what, I've got no to do today. I'm going to do this. I'll put it out there. Oh, hang on, people like it.
Yeah. I mean,
so great. That works quite well. Now, we're reaching a point in the interview where traditionally I have to ask you about your favourite book, your favourite film, and your favourite piece of music. Well, I'm not going to do that.
Oh, wow, okay.
No, because here we are.
I had to re-research my favourite book.
Well, I'm not interested.
I don't care.
Right, so what we're doing now is, because we're at Valley Parade, I am now going to ask you...
I can't call it anything else.
Instead of your favourite book, who's your favourite player?
It's Stuart McCall.
Because?
That's my first... My granddad brought me here. He went every home game, closed up the calf, go back to my granddad's, we'd go back for lunch, and then we'd come straight here, and we'd go to the Venezia coffee bar. Yeah. And he'd hang out with all his cronies, maybe play some cards, a lot of coffee, bit of grappa. Not me, obviously, I was about 5. And then we'd sit over there. And then when I really started going again, I was about 10, so it was, 84, 85 season. And what a team, what a magnificent team. And I was coming with friends and their parents. I felt like really independent. So it was just like unbelievably heady times. And the players then. I mean, it's an incredible team, but the obvious ones are John Hendry and Stuart McCall and Stuart, and what he's done and what he's meant to the club subsequently. And it's just so far kind of above anyone else, really.
What about favourite match?
Favourite match was 88, first leg in the playoffs against Borough. I was in the Kop, and when they scored first, when we equalised, that was 14. I don't know. I might have had a bit of booze. I'm not sure. I don't know if I did. It wasn't. No, not with that. But just the atmosphere that day. It was like really, really hot. And Borough had been kind of flying high all season as well, and we'd been really, really unlucky. It felt like we were, going to do it. Obviously, we didn't. But our equalising goal, going in on that match, I'll never forget it.
I think that was the season we were playing with the smallest professional squad in the
was
FA.
It like 13 or something?
Yeah, it was 13 professional players.
Oh, yeah. Bless you, Jack.
Was that when Rocket Ron were playing for us?
Yeah. He was.
Yeah, I was there.
Pallister was playing for Borough. He was there. I remember that. Bernie Slaven as well.
What about a favourite away stadium?
Favourite away stadium?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Leyton Orient.
Leyton Orient?
Yeah.
Because
it was really close to where I lived for a long period of time.
Right.
And they had a brilliant bar just up from it, and Leyton is just kind of this little village, just sort of weird, kind of almost quite hipstery, but getting that way, kind of whitewashing, but still proper East London and just out in the sticks. And you've just got this really incongruous stadium there. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. I like all the sort of crummy ones. Gillingham I quite like. Feels proper. You feel those are my working class credentials going to away stadiums.
Well, I mean, to go back to that, I think there's such a great connection between football and acting and theatre, because you have got this narrative that unfolds.
Yeah.
And there's a conclusion that sometimes it's tragedy, sometimes it's comic, and sometimes it's victory.
So usually, hopefully a bit of theatrics. That's always good.
And one of the most interesting quotes I ever got, which was from quite a famous playwright who was fanatical on football.
Yeah.
And he said, Ian, remember that the football match is the perfect time. He said,
90 minutes.
90 minutes.
Yeah.
He said every film should be 90 minutes. Every theatre play should be 90 minutes. You don't need any longer.
I couldn't agree
And
more. I
think
couldn't agree more.
That's just sheer brilliance.
Well,
Isn't it?
it's you know, it's that special. That's a big word, isn't it? What happens when people come together to watch something that, whether it's match or whether it's a play, and what it does, and what that part of our being, is kind of quite special. Obviously, you got what's happening on the pitch, but just that feeling of community. That I can't. When the reserves drop, when you're away from home and you come here, and just that feeling is amazing. And when you've been to see a brilliant play, or you're in a play that's gone down well, and just that feeling afterwards, during, before, it's just magic.
And I mean, it's one of the other things I think because the football match can be such a fantastic thing. That's why there's never been a good film about it.
Yeah, you can't.
All the films you ever see about football are rubbish.
Have there been any
So I was going to ask you, what's your favourite football film?
Escape to Victory.
And I thought, well, that's...
It's just, it's a given.
It's almost impossible to answer. Because
Has there been any good films about filmmaking? Is it possibly more successful?
I think there's one out now, isn't there?
Is there?
It's about the guy who wrote... Gary Oldman's in it, isn't he?
Oh, he would be. Love him.
Yeah. It's shot in black and white.
Oh yeah, of course. I've not seen it.
Yeah. For some or other.
For like the Citizen Kane, Mank.
That's it.
Yes. I was going to say, have you seen Day for Night?
No.
Francois Truffaut, Day for Night, or Nuit Américaine, is my favourite film about films.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, you've done your research and you tried.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't going to say that. No, I was going to say that. I was going to say The Godfather.
Which one?
The Godfather.
No, sorry, you can only have one.
No, it's The Godfather, the first part, absolutely. That just reminds me of. It's that thing of. It's a little bit about like what we were talking about before, and the Italianness of it, and it opens with the wedding, and kind of essentially seeing my culture on film and legitimised, and because I was aware of being definitely not English growing up and having a name that's difficult to pronounce and all those things, and sort of see it there and it be actually kind of really quite cool and really quite awesome and sexy was a big thing, and kind of made me probably a bit more proud of it, or feel like it was okay to be outwardly proud of it as well as just kind of inwardly proud, and all that stuff with your family. Fortunately, when I was up until I was about 10, I had both sets of grandparents still living in Bradford. So for me, it was quite significantly more Italian upbringing than my little brother, who's like 13 years younger than me. Little brother, he's at home as a solicitor, doing Zoom calls all day long.
He got the sensible job.
He's the sensible one. Yeah.
So what would be your favourite book?
Favourite book is a tricky one. That was a tricky one. I had to, and it was a French answer. It was The Stranger by Camus, because I read it in French, which is really nerdy. But the sense of satisfaction of being able to read. That was the first thing I think I read in French. I was like, I worked really hard to get good at French, because as a kid he was always better than me, Mark Kish. And so there's a massive sense of achievement, but also just reading a book that is sort of about nothing and about just existence, but so just texturally rich. It's like, it was that thing of like you read it, looking up, and my sort of world had changed. But probably more about the time that I read it rather than the book itself.
Yeah.
Other than that, Outrage by Vincent Bugliosi. 5 Reasons OJ Got Away With It. I can't put it down. I mean,
And then what about, have you got a favourite piece of music?
I
mean, it's obviously an impossible
No, not
answer.
really. It's an impossibility. And again, it's more about the time in your life, and in that sense, everything it comes back here. I mean, it's not all been downhill since I left Bradford, but I really love school. My friends from school are still my best friends now, and so stuff like that. What happens to you, all the things that happen to you in your teens, and what you get up to, the amount of firsts that happen in your life between like 12 and and 18, and they all happened here. So it was music that we were listening to, and I suppose Stone Roses really would best encapsulate that. And just going to tumblers we used to go to.
Yeah.
I remember I was thinking about this earlier. I was the first one out of our lot to go because we did a production of Oliver at school, and there were sixth formers in it as well. So we went with them to tumblers. That's how we got in. Yeah. And then, of course, my dad supplied the amusement machines there, the pool table and the jukebox and stuff. So they knew who I was, so they knew I was underage. So as soon as my mates started going, I was barred for about 6 months before they finally relented.
Excellent. Well, it is my great pleasure to tell you that the University of Bradford have awarded you an honorary doctorate for your significant contribution to theatre and the arts in Bradford. So, Enzo, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm really blown away by it. I'm really blown away by it. I'm quite moved and honoured, and I'm really pleased. Really pleased.